I just want to welcome everybody to our webinar today on um, increasing your ROI and boosting the equipment efficiency. I'm Barb Stearns. I'm Senior Account Manager here at Nero. And just a couple of things to note. So if you do have any questions throughout the presentation, at the bottom of your tray, there's a Q&A. If you type a question in there, then at the end we'll have a Q&A time and address those directly, group them together, or if it's something more personal, we'll get back to you directly. And yeah, and just want to welcome our panelists today, a couple Nero customers who are already using this whole project, and that's Aaron Provencal from 5 Star Restoration and Chris Kushnall from Restoration Once, and I hope I didn't butcher either of your names. And then I'll introduce you to Andrew Willis, who is our VP of Sales, and he is going to give us our presentation now.
Excellent. Thank you, Barb, and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining and taking some time out of your day to come and listen to me talk to you a little bit more about growing business efficiencies and achieving return on investment with the assets that you have out there. And I'd also like to extend a huge thank you to our panelists today, Aaron and Chris, who've taken the time out to join us. So Aaron is with 5 Star Restoration down in California. Chris is up with Restoration One, Metro Detroit area. So 2 current Nero customers that are going to share with you throughout the presentation some of their real life experiences of using the Nero platform. So let's kick things off. Gentlemen, welcome, and we'll refer to you a few times throughout this presentation and hear back from you. Thanks for joining us. The first part of the webinar today, I wanted to take a look at equipment tracking in the new normal. That's what this slide says, but I almost wanted to forget the equipment tracking for a second and just think about where we are in the new normal. And throw that over to Aaron and Chris. Aaron, what's happened for 5 Star over the last 12 months while we've been in this pandemic situation?
Well, you know, the beginning of it all, things slowed down a little bit for us, just with some people not wanting us to come out to their homes. But I think that just lasted for a couple months, and we've been pretty much running at normal capacity, and hasn't been too much of an issue for us.
Okay, that's great. And I guess same question over for you, Chris. What's been going on over the last year for Restoration One?
You know, actually, things have been busy for us, even busier. Starting to get a few more commercial jobs that get us bigger and bigger in some fires and larger water losses in department stores, things like that. So we've been busy throughout the pandemic. We also do biohazard cleanups, so you know, COVID cleanings are part of our services.
Okay, well, it's great to hear that you guys have both been busy during the last 12 months, and I guess it's one of those industries where, you know, fires and floods and wind damage don't stop just because of the pandemic. So some of the challenges that we're all facing 12 months into COVID are the same. We still have to find our equipment between job sites and our vans and trucks that are out on the road and our warehouses. We still suffer with the, you know, phantom inventory. I hear from people all the time that, you know, we think we've got equipment when we don't have, and vice versa. And over the last 12 months, I don't think we've got any closer to ridding ourselves from human errors. If anything, a lot of people are so mentally burnt out right now. We're probably seeing a few more of those. But the challenges that are new for everybody right now that we're introducing into the world are the protocols that we've all got to work against. So like Aaron mentioned just there, people having some fears and concerns about an organization coming into somebody's home or business are very real. Having to wear masks and protective equipment to make sure that we're keeping not only our customers but our employees safe are new. And what we've also seen is that office environment, it can now be from anywhere. We've seen a lot of our organizations, even in the restoration environment, still having a number of employees working from home where they can, just to avoid those possible contamination or exposure risks with COVID-19. So we're now working with a team of people that are maybe not always in the office, so struggling to communicate is a real problem as well. And that inventory management has become somewhat virtual. For some of the smaller entities that are not going into the warehouse, they're keeping more equipment than ever before on vehicles. So being able to know what equipment's out there and ready to use is sometimes a new struggle that we're facing in the COVID era. So I think there's a lot of efficiencies that can be gained by managing your equipment and your fleet of vehicles with GPS. It's the core business product of Nero Global Tracking, and we've been helping people across North America track their vehicles for over 20 years now. But we've introduced a passive asset tracking tool which fixes a lot of the old problems, but also some of those new challenges as well. Doesn't matter how you do it. This is like Nero aside for one moment. If you track your fleet of vehicles and your equipment efficiently, you're going to bring in some efficiencies. So lower administrative costs, having your office team, your technicians focus on their job rather than running around a warehouse or phoning each other, texting each other to see what's on a van. You just naturally bring down those administrative costs. And by knowing what you have, however you're managing your inventory, you're able to respond faster to an emergency situation. And if any of you have been to one of my webinars before or seen me talk in real life, you'll know that I refer to restoration organizations as somewhat as a fourth emergency service, because you do go in there when a home or a business is at its lowest point after a water flood or a fire, storm damage, etc., and you really go in there to save the day. And if you're doing something more than a clipboard and paper and a pen or a whiteboard, you're opening up avenues to streamline your operations, which is just going to allow you to do more jobs and earn more money at the end of the month. So Aaron, I guess I'll go to you first here. And as we're going along, guys, you'll see that where there's a pop-up with Aaron and Chris's faces, we're always going to try and get the experiences from real customers. But what did the Nero system do for 5-Star when you took on the system?
Well, when I ran into you, I was originally just looking for an equipment tracking system. I was looking at the different scanning devices, things that we could find out where our equipment went missing. But started talking to you and was looking at your system and took a look at how I could reduce my GPS tracking just on the vehicles alone. I cut that in almost half of what I was paying prior. And then adding on the equipment tracking was just the added benefit. And just taking out the human element from having to scan anything or rely on them to do something themselves. It just was a no-brainer for me.
Excellent. And would you say that you've now got some peace of mind that we took the humans out? Did that make you feel better about what your inventory of assets were doing?
Definitely. If you're not having to rely on someone to scan a barcode or input something into a computer, it just alleviates any questions on whether or not it was done properly.
Excellent. And Chris, how did Nero impact Restoration One?
My business is in its 4th year. When I started the business, you're starting with, and I'm not sure if everybody does it the same, but I started with about 5 dehumidifiers and 25 air movers. Not too tough to track, to be honest. As I took equipment out to the field and went from job to job, things as they slowed down, I was able to bring the equipment back, count it all, make sure it was there. The challenge becomes when you start to grow, and as you get bigger and bigger and add more equipment. I think we have more than 100 air movers now, and far more dehus than we had before. The challenge is making sure that you have all that equipment going from job to job to job, because you're doing far more jobs now than you were before. And right before I found Nero, I was in a department store that had flooded, an old department store in an old mall, a lot of back rooms and areas, stock rooms and things like that, as well as the sales floor. And I found myself playing hide and seek with my equipment, trying to figure out where it was at. I went back to the store thinking that I had left some, and sure enough, back in a corner, back behind some inventory was a couple of air movers that were turned off, but were left. So I knew there that I needed to do something in order to be able to track this equipment and know where it's at. So once we've added that, we've been able to, I run a report every night that, a report gets run for me and sent to me every night that tells me what's not in my shop and where exactly it's at. So it's been a huge benefit in tracking my equipment.
Perfect. That's really great to hear, and I love hearing real life experiences. And you know, Aaron and I have known each other now for quite a few years, so it's really good to hear in the lack of trade shows that we're doing right now and meetings and customer visits. It's really great to hear your story there as well. So we're going to release a poll now, and I think that's over to Barb to release a poll for everybody that's in the webinar today.
Great. So we've got a slide here that says a poll, and then it's going to pop up on your screen. You're going to have about 30 seconds to answer. And so we're just wondering, with all of you who are on here today, how are you currently tracking your equipment? So paper forms, which, you know, that would include spreadsheets, things like that, barcode scanning, RFID, Bluetooth, or if you're not keeping track of it at all. So we'll give you a few seconds. That should pop up. Hasn't on my screen yet.
We're working with technology, so not sure whether that poll is going to pop up here. We'll just wait a few more seconds, and it was scheduled to pop up, but it might not.
So we may have to all just pretend it's up there this time, and that's okay because technology happens. That's okay.
Yep. We are using Zoom to its limits right now. Okay, it looks like the poll isn't running, Barb. So if that does pop up throughout the webinar, please just go and take a look there and answer it. Oh, it may have just popped up on everybody's screens now.
There it is.
So, panelists, you won't be able to vote. So that's you, Chris and Aaron. I am not able to vote. We have some public attendees and we have some private attendees for ones that registered without their names. So everybody is just scoring now. And that poll should disappear off your screens in about 10 seconds now. There we go.
There we go, Bob. And it'll be just a second here and I'll get the results and share them. There they go, at least that technology is working. So I just got the response, and the majority people, well, there's a few in every category, of course, but the majority of people are using the paper forms or spreadsheets or different, like those kind of things. So yeah.
Okay, it's definitely one that we see the most when we ask this question at trade shows and on sales calls. And what people generally refer to as paper and pen or whiteboard, it really does come down to they're not tracking their equipment. Usually, it's having a rough idea that they put some equipment onto a job. So Aaron, what had you been doing before you joined Nero for this? Had you been doing anything for equipment scanning or tracking?
Yeah, we were really relying on our guys to fill out forms for each project, how much equipment they were putting on, how much they were taking off. But we found that not everything was being accounted for properly, and we were finding customers calling and say, hey, when are you gonna get this air mover router here? It's been sitting out here for months, type of thing. So going back to pick those up is not the way you want to handle business.
No, I agree. And Chris, you just told us your story there about hunting through a department store. What had you been doing? Was it pretty similar to Aaron's experience there? I
didn't trust anybody else to count it except for myself. So I would literally go out into the shop and count every piece of equipment, not just air movers and dehues, but the foggers, all of the different types of equipment that we carry on a vehicle. I would go out and physically touch to make sure I had, because I didn't trust the paper forms or a barcode scan for sure.
Okay, that's good to know as well. And I was glad to know that you both got grips on your equipment. So the poll there focused on a few technologies. These are the ones that are the heaviest used within the restoration environment. So we've got the paper and pen there. We've got the RFID in the top right-hand corner there, where you'll physically scan a tag. So very computerized, you'll get reports on your data, but you still rely on that human element there to go and scan that RFID tag. And you've got the big disadvantage there of the expense of those scanners. I always refer to big box grocery stores when we look at RFID, and when you don't have a deactivated tag and you walk through the doors and the beeps go off there for you, those passive rings that go around a grocery store door are around $100,000 each. So way more expensive than the handheld equipment that you'd use in the restoration industry, but it shows you the price of that passive RFID technology. And it's actually why over the last, say, 15, 20 years, we've seen grocery stores actually reduce their entry and exit points. Bottom left there, we've got the trusty barcode scanner. Again, multiple technology concerns there, either having handheld scanners or using cell phones. And then down at the bottom right, we've got fully passive automated systems, which are similar to what Nero offers, where the van will talk to your equipment, and a cell phone app can just be in your pocket talking to equipment as well. So let's take a look at how technology can help you and your business, and talk about Nero Global Tracking as a solution. What we try and do is we try and provide visibility into your assets journey. Whilst a piece of equipment, let's just say it's a DHU that's in a job, it's plugged in, it's turned on, you're getting paid either by the client or by an insurance company, everything's good. But what we need to really provide you focus on is what equipment you've got to go into the next job, and focus on the next area that you're going to get paid from. And that's where you're going to achieve your return on investment on your assets. Time at location context is super important, especially in the jobs where you're being paid by insurance. You know, if you're working within a certain amount of time to completely dry out a water job, and you know, 15 days later you're saying, well, no, my DHU's still running, I still haven't dried this facility out, then there might be some questions asked whether you've been effectively doing your job. And then the other aspect of that is, okay, well, no, I did do my job. I know I did my job. I'm good at it, but my DHU's been there for 20 days. Let's pick that up. Let's get it serviced. Let's get it maintained and get it ready for that next job. And with that, Nero have introduced recently, actually, over the last 6 months, we've actually introduced a full maintenance module for tracking that equipment. So it's all about working smarter rather than working harder. We'll now tell you when certain pieces of equipment need their maintenance, and a Nero account manager would work with all of our customers to really fill out what that maintenance schedule for a business would be. And then it's all reported through a web-based portal, giving that data and giving you ultimate accessibility to that data to plan the journey ahead. So this slide here, you're going to see a few little videos. Apologies for the very low budget talent that was used in these videos, but we're going to have a look at how improving efficiencies can boost your ROI by letting your technicians focus on the job in hand, making the solution passive, so removing that human error element, and then focusing on the journey. So when you've got equipment that can be reused in another job, which then links it to how you get paid, and continue going into a customer's home or business to save the day. So if we have a look at our first video here, and that will start to play. So as you're taking equipment out of your warehouse, you'll see that the diamonds there are white. The second I take them out of my warehouse, they've gone to green. So we've seen that our detected equipment has now left our facility, and we just know it. It's almost like magic. And then you'll see there, as I start to move to my vehicle there, and don't please judge me on how I put equipment into my car, but you'll see that those diamonds in the data table down there have gone from green to white. So by just moving a piece of equipment from my warehouse onto my vehicle, very haphazardly moving a DHU by its handle there, shouldn't be done. I've been able to just track that journey. So I can now actually see that Andrew's got 2 pieces of equipment on his vehicle. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to this slide and we'll play the second part of the asset journey. And then what's going to happen here is your vehicles are already loaded up, and now we'll focus on arriving. So we're going to arrive at our job site here at 123 Main Street. We're going to go in and we're going to do our flood, and you'll now see that the second that I walk away from my vehicle, that data table goes from white to green. They're no longer on my vehicle. And we have sped this up to demonstrate what's going on. And you'll see there that we're logging a time at location for each of these pieces of equipment as well. So if I go back to the slide for the third video, this is looking at how we're going to monitor our pieces of equipment once they've been on site for a while. So I've got my web-based portal, I've got my cell phone, and you'll see that when they're green, it's good, we're getting paid, everything's good. But after time goes by, we'll see, okay, they've changed to yellow. So I've now been there for say 6 days. Is it time to pick up our equipment? And then what you need to do is focus on moving your team to go and pick up that piece of equipment. And then the last little video here will be me going to pick up my pieces of equipment and planning the next steps of the journey ahead. And you'll see there that my diamonds in the data table are yellow. And the second that I bring them close to my vehicle, they're now going to say that they are white. So they've been detected by my vehicle and they've gone onto my vehicle for less than a day. So that's really how the system works in a very short and simple way. And thank you to all of our team here that helped us film all of that for the webinar today. So looking at what the solution might look like in the web-based portal, fully fledged GPS tracking product. If you've got GPS tracking in your fleet right now, you'll find Nero's solution offers a very similar level of service for the GPS. And our niche is bringing in the equipment there. So I'm just going to focus on the images that are at the bottom of the screen first there. GPS black box goes into each of your vehicles. We've got multiple ways of installing them. They can either use the OBD2 port or get hardwired. The UFO looking device is our latest generation warehouse collector. That's going to tell you everything that you've got in your warehouse at any given time. So reducing what Chris was talking about earlier, going out into the shop to physically count inventory. Third piece along there is a Bluetooth antenna that goes into each of your vehicles. So it plugs into that first black box, and then that talks to the little Bluetooth tags that you see at the right-hand side of the screen. And then all of that data feeds into this web-based portal, which is going to show you a legend where your equipment is detected. It's the white diamond piece of equipment that have been on site for up to 6 days, 6 to 10 days, and then 10 days plus, which is all helping you work smarter to plan the next steps of the asset journey. So real world experiences, this is going to go over to Aaron and Chris there. Anything that you wanted to share with the attendees today that you hadn't already shared about your use case specifically, Aaron? Oh, and I think you might be muted there, Aaron.
There we go.
There we go.
So yeah, I think it's just beneficial being able to pull up the GPS map, not only be able to locate where all your vehicles are, but if you've got a loss you need to respond to, you don't need to call the individuals and say, hey, how much equipment do you have on your truck? You'll be able to pull that up right away and be able to dispatch accordingly.
Great. And Chris, you know, how's it changed what you're doing now that you've got this rolled out across your fleet and your equipment?
No, you haven't mentioned the feature that I probably use the most, and that is the export to Excel feature. A simple example I used the other day, we had a lot of rain and I had a vehicle with equipment at a job site and they were pulling some of the equipment off and working that job. And then I got another call. I don't exactly know how many dehumidifiers are on that vehicle now that they've had a job. I was able to very quickly hit my equipment. It gives me the last scan. It tells me that it's on that vehicle. And now I know I have 2 dehus and 10 air movers on that vehicle to be able to take the next job. So I wouldn't have known that as easily. It would have taken me a lot longer to get that information. So that's probably one of the features that I use the most is a simple, every day I can export Now I get it as a report where it tells me every location that each is at, and I can do a simple pivot table, and by type of equipment, it'll give me a count of each one and where it's at. So that's extremely valuable for me. I take that, I attach it to the estimate that I give my adjusters, so they see all the detail, account of all of my equipment. That's going to be in that estimate, but it's right there with serial number, tag number, so that there's no question that equipment was on that job site.
That's excellent. Yeah, and that's a really good way of using the reporting tool. So Nero does have a fully fledged reporting tool, and does offer those back to basics things where you can take out that massive amount of data out to Excel, so you can see it all in one place. And it's like I keep saying, it's all about working smarter rather than working harder. We do offer the benefits above the equipment tracking, like I mentioned before. So it's managing the equipment maintenance cycles, being able to improve the productivity of your fleet, of your drivers, the safety and security of your drivers, as well as the ability to track how well or poorly your fleet vehicles are being driven, and improving your customer experience. A lot of restoration organizations, they really do pride themselves in their work, and when the reviews are placed, they'll often win a lot of business based on reviews. They'll have a Mrs. Smith talk to their neighbor and said, well, I used 5-star, I used Restoration One, and they were really good. So when it's maybe not an insurance claim where you're a nominated facility for the insurance company, somebody might then pick up the phone based on that word of mouth. Once you've given somebody a great customer experience, that's free marketing forever then. It allows you to reduce that paperwork. Who doesn't like to reduce paperwork? And as we keep mentioning, improving efficiency. So using the equipment that you've got, try to reduce your shrinkage, try and reduce how much you have to rent, and actually get the equipment that you've worked really hard to pay for in jobs and earning its money. So on that one, let's have a look at our next slide. It takes us over to Q&A. So we've got some attendees that are public. Most of our attendees today are private attendees that didn't register with a name. But Barb, over to you to feed me some questions and answers for either myself or for the panelists.
Okay, so I don't have any specific ones for the panelists yet, but you still have time to put questions in there while we're discussing this as well. Go ahead and type your questions in. So, but the first question we've got is about the tags. So we saw a picture of them on one of our slides, but kind of how big are they and how easy to attach to equipment, and how easy is it to change the battery? Got a few different questions, so we'll sort of lump them all together there.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm fumbling around on my desk to see if I have one. So for those that are looking at my camera, I have this filter on, which is hard, so I have to get them quite close. But these little tags, I can probably fit 6 of these tags in the palm of my hand. Now, Aaron's been with us for a long time, and he's been through 2 generations of tags with us. We've made tags smarter as years go by. Our latest generation tag is attached, it's got 2 flanges on the sides. You can attach it with screws, pop rivets, industrial Velcro, industrial adhesive, and they can go on the inside of equipment as well. So if you're lifting off the shells of like plastic dehues or air movers, you're able to put them inside as well. The battery is replaced from the front of the tag, which means you just unscrew the front and then you can replace the battery in there as well. So very, very, very small. And I don't, if I just take you back to one of my slides here at the very beginning and see what I can do. I actually have a picture on, there we go. I actually installed that on my air mover here in the office. So that's just above the power button on a stacking snail fan. And you can see that that's one of the tags in action.
And we found it beneficial to mount them on the inside of the equipment just so they don't get knocked off or bumped or damaged or anything. So it's worked out well.
Almost all of mine are on the inside as well.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's great.
Any other questions?
Yes. Oh, yes, we've got more. So questions regarding, like, if we're already a Nero customer with just GPS, how do we get can we just add on this equipment tracking? Do we need different beacons? So to speak sort of towards that a bit.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So if you are already a Nero customer, you potentially have the ability to just add on asset tracking depending on what generation of device that you have with Nero. Your account manager will be able to talk through that with you. And if you don't have a device that can support the Bluetooth antenna, we can work out an upgrade plan with you as well. And it looks like there's a few public questions that have come in as well, Bob. I think Chris, thank you there for answering Matthew's question there. But there was another question that came in. Is there a limit to the number of users that can access the account to view equipment on vehicles? Yeah, Matthew, great question. And the answer to that is there is no limit. No, Nero don't charge a licensing fee. So you can have as many users in the portal as you'd like there. So yeah, we encourage everybody to have their own username and password. There's an audit log then in to see who's gone in to do things in the portal, and it allows us to be able to go back in time if anything goes wrong.
Yeah, and to mention as well, like with those users, you can give them different permission levels to see different things as well. So if we're talking very large company, we can split into departments that certain people only see certain vehicles as well. So lots of flexibility there.
And I think the other question that just came in there, Bob, was how many pieces of equipment are Aaron and Chris tracking? Chris answered there 150 pieces and 5 vehicles. Aaron, I think you're around 45 vehicles now, is that right?
I think we're getting close to 60 currently, and then I think equipment-wise, probably 400 to 50 thereabouts. As far as equipment goes, we track our dehumidifiers, our air movers, our hydroxyl generators, extraction equipment, any specialty sprayers, anything of value, we'll put a tracking device on.
Excellent.
Right down to the scanners. We put them on our scanners as well. Zip time right to it.
And that's actually part of the reason why we enjoy the flange. Some of the tags that we worked with in the past, you would take the cover off and then you would screw them in from the back. Then we went to a tag that only had one flange and was a very difficult battery to replace. And then we've found our way now, years later, after becoming an industry expert in this kind of industry with the tag that we have today. So that's great.
Great.
Any more, Bob?
Yes. Oh, that's the same question coming up again. Sorry. All right, I've got one other here about the range of the tracking and the tags and the communication between. So I mean, we covered it a bit within the video that you could see as soon as you put it on the truck, it showed right away and those kind of things. But as far as the range.
Yeah, so another good question. Yeah, so the range of the Bluetooth tags themselves is actually quite small. It's what we call a dumb technology. So all these things do is every 3 seconds, they wave their arms in the air and they say, hey, I'm here. So these have about a 30-meter range, clear line of sight, typical Bluetooth range. Then our collectors have a much longer range. So you'll see around 100 to 150 meters. For those in the US, where are we at? 450, 500 feet for the vehicle collectors, and around up to 600 feet or 300 meters, I think it is 200 meters, sorry, for the warehouse collectors. So what we'll say is for the warehouse, depending on the size of your facility, you might need to have more than one warehouse collector if you want to have full coverage of your facility. And then for the areas, if you're working within a multifamily environment or condo environment, if you can't park your vehicle anywhere near the property, we do have a mobile scanner as well. So it's just an app that runs on your cell phone. It doesn't cost anything, and you can actually update the location of the tags there just from having your phone in your pocket if you're not parking close to the business that you're in. Also the application is really good if you've done a big job. Let's just say a multi-floor water loss, which I was speaking to somebody earlier. Somebody opened a fire riser in a condo, and the water was very unforgiving and went through 34 floors. What they did was, at the end of the job, they just walked down the fire stairs of the building. They just had the app, because obviously the connectivity to the vehicle wouldn't go up to the top of this big condo tower. So they just walked down the fire escape with the mobile app to see that they hadn't done or hadn't left any equipment behind.
Great.
The mobile app is a great feature.
Yeah,
I
and
use it all the time.
Good.
It especially during COVID, we worked really hard to get the equipment out there on the app, just because people are using their phones more than ever. And we didn't want everybody to just have to stop and go into the web-based portal. So full location of your vehicles on the app, driving behavior, depending on what vehicle you have. If you're using the J1939 protocol on some of your bigger heavy hauling trucks, full trouble codes on there, and then your equipment, and be able to filter and search for pieces of equipment by name, by type, etc., and how long they've been on a job site. It's really useful.
Great. I don't have any more questions that I see have come in or been asked. Don't know if Aaron and Chris want to give some last minute comments before we close her down here, but just going to put up this slide now that, you know, any other questions that come up, give us a call. We're happy to help answer any questions you have and get you set up or whatever you need, for sure.
Okay, that's great. Aaron, Chris, thank you so much for attending today. I think it makes the webinars a lot more interactive when we have panelists on there. Yeah, any other questions for anybody that's watching, please see the contact information on there and get in touch.
Andrew, and I make myself available if anybody has questions and would like to talk to somebody that's using it. There are a lot of options out there. As you know, this one's working fantastic for me, and I'm excited to say it. So I'd be happy to take any calls from anybody that would like to talk about their fleet, where they're at in their business, whether they're just starting or they're much larger. Maybe Aaron can answer those questions, but would love to be able to help.
Great, thank you.
Go ahead. Gentlemen, thank you. All the attendees, thank you so much. We will make this webinar available as a recording, so feel free to share it with everybody. And until next time, stay safe out there and make sure that you're working smarter rather than working harder. Catch you later, everyone.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye. Have a good day.